Hey folks, Twisted Christian here. I want to give you guys a Zion oil and gas update. Now, I haven't really given an update. You guys can see from my last several videos about Zion oil. It was about strategy, the history, and we really haven't seen the stock go where we thought we would go, especially on the first update. And I did share that on the first update, it's going to give us somewhat of a time frame how far they've drilled. But one of the things that I've realized in this whole thing with Zion Oil, and it probably would have changed my whole entire strategy, this thing that's going on with Citadel, Robinhood, and these hedge funds, it's got me thinking and got me doing some research. And it's one of the major things that has probably kept Zion Oil down. Of course, you have these hedge funds or individuals shorting the stock. And that's very important in your strategy and as far as how you might invest into a company and see where it's going and seeing what companies are trying to do to the stock as far as negatively so that they can benefit. So then I was just kind of reminded of all these different events that occurred with Zion Oil. I think about their stock program with AST Financial and who are they connected with and who owns them and what are the connections between other financial institutions. So one of the things that I started looking up, of course, is looking at the short interest of Zion Oil and Gas, and you're just looking at a certain percentage of the volume that's actually being shorted. So from what I understand, it is a little high, and it's one of the things that Zion Oil really thinking back, that's one of the things that has kept the price of Zion Oil skyrocketing. And you got to remember there was a couple instances. And so now as I start looking at some of the other stocks that I'm investing in, I'm looking at these numbers. It's one of the things that this is a battle, right? They talk about what's going on with GameStop and Nokia and AMC and about trying to put on a short squeeze. And this thing that's going on with Zion Oil as far as the price and how I've seen it fluctuate, a lot of it has to do with these hedge funds. It's just not people investing and then selling. There's a lot of hedge funds that have been involved with Zion Oil and Gas. So that is information that people really need to start researching on a daily basis, especially if you plan on buying. And so this other website, the OTC Market website, has its own short interest. But one of the things I wanted to find out is which financial institutions are actually shorting Zion Oil and Gas. So going back into history, like I came across this old article about hedge funds have never been this bullish on Zion Oil and Gas, right? Put out by Yahoo Finance. And during that time period, there wasn't really anything going on with Zion Oil, right? I remember at that point when there was issues with Zion Oil and Gas getting their extension, right? So we were all waiting on news around that time, and there was kind of like this long delay. Like we didn't really hear anything officially till like almost the middle of or around the middle of January. And any time that you see an article like this, right, and knowing what I know now about hedge funds like Citadel and what they do, and I see this article and it's almost like, okay, they're going to have everybody pour all their money into this thing and somehow, some way, these hedge funds are going to make money off people's losses. And I think that's what a lot that has been going on with Zion Oil. And I also brought to remembrance a long time ago, it was like one of my first few Zion Oil videos, and there was somebody had made a comment, and the comment was thanking me for making the video so people will invest so that they can short the stock. And I was just like, okay, that guy's way off or whatever. But now that I think about it, there are individuals that are doing that, and I think that they do monitor social media chatter. especially like when you go to like on the Webull community or you go to other forums and you have these people who are saying, why do so many Christians believe in this stock and these the prophetic words concerning Zion Oil and all that. And I think there's a lot of people that were out to get the stock, and the one way to do that is, of course, is to try to bet against it. So here, like when you see these articles like this, you have to be very, very careful because you don't know exactly what they're doing when they say that they're getting ready to get into a particular stock. So looking back, I'm on a Fintel website, and of course, a lot of this information is locked, and I'm not sure how much this data would actually change if you actually subscribe to this, but I'm just going back and I'm looking at a lot of these institutional holdings, and this doesn't include mutual funds or anything else. It's just institutional holdings, and you can see that throughout history they've pulled out. Now this is Zion Oil. This was before they went to OTC. So they have two separate reports, one for Zion Oil with their stock symbol ZN, and then another one with ZNOG. So you can go back and you can look at some of these major institutions, and there's the one, the Citadel, right? And they made a call. It appears that some of these companies came in and then they pulled out, right? Made their money and left, right? And you can go back leading up to the announcement of going to OTC. Like I said, there's no numbers here, and I'm not sure. I would have to actually look at the filings, but just based off of what they say here in red, that those are institutions that have reduced their position completely. So there's a lot of different groups here. In some way, somehow, a lot of these groups are connected with each other. And so I would like to know exactly which institutions were involved before OTC and how many were shorting the stock and all that before then, which there probably were some. But I just find that interesting because it plays into where we are at with Zion Oil. And when the first piece of news was released, we get a very small bounce. And I think just like anybody else, when I shared my strategy with trading with Zion Oil, they have theirs too. So they know how oil companies work, right? And every piece of news can make the stock rise up a little bit. But I think that some of these hedge funds know Zion Oil's history. And it's obvious that they would make more money betting against Zion Oil where they are at in this stage in their company than it would be to actually invest in the company. So now I'm looking at Zion Oil and Gas's institutional holdings since they've went OTC, right? So here we see a lot of these companies that are actually involved in some of these scandals that are going on, right? With GameStop and AMC. See there again here in their filing here on the 16th. You can see here, and of course you can't see that information unless you actually subscribe. I mean, you have all these different hedge funds and these different investment groups, and it's all back in November. So it looks like here, after they made their announcement about the drill and all that, you can see that there was a lot of activity. And so I would have to go into and try to find each one of these 13 Fs and actually take a look at it. But one of the things that I have realized when I have been researching some of these companies, there is layer after layer after layer of collusion. And that's one of the things I wanted to find out was, because Zion Oil does use AST, right? And some people invest through AST, the American Stock Transfer and Trust. And, I've read about their complaints. People put in a sell order and maybe the stock is at $1. And by the time they actually sell it, it's all the way down to 70 cents, right? Or if they submit a buy order and the stock is at 50 cents, and then by the time the buy order goes through, it's at 70 cents. And so one of the things that I need to know, they do operate as a broker. I want to know, first of all, how much of their information do they share with other companies? Okay, many of you, you have money taken out of your account every week or every 2 weeks or every month, and it goes towards the stock, right? And they can use that and they can purchase the stock basically free will and purchase it at any price. So is there any information that they give out to other companies or any through subsidiaries or owners or anything like that to where this information would be shared? AST would know how many stocks are being purchased and at what price, and are they using that information to either giving that information out, or do they short their own stocks? Do they short the companies that they work for? Are they also shorting the same stocks? And so you have just like all these subsidiaries, you have all these owners, and AST is owned by Pacific Equity Partners, and then you try to see what their relationships are with other people as far as sharing information. This is one of the other companies that Pacific owns. Orient Capital, the investor relations division of the Link Group, is a global leader in share ownership, analytics, market intelligence, investor communications, right? And they're owned by Link, which Link owns AST. So do you see what I'm saying as far as the information that could be available to any other hedge funds or groups or investment groups or whatever the case is? And I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. Because what I'm trying to figure out is what is their relationship and how do they share that information, and how much of an impact does it have on a company by using this particular company? And also too, are they loaning out shares as far as the short interest? Do you get my point? So that information has to be explored. And I'll say this, because it doesn't matter what company that's listed on NASDAQ stock market or whatever. If they're using a company that's associated with all these other hedge funds and all these other companies that's trying to take your company down, I think there might be some type of conflict of interest, and I think that needs to be looked at. I'm not saying there is. I'm just posing the question. It was back in 2014 when they moved to using AST. The other thing that came to mind is, if you guys remember, when Zynoil's ship was on its way, and there was a false rumor that was put out, somebody on Webull, and apparently I haven't heard anything since about it. Apparently the account got banned. What this person had posted allegedly said that Iran had sunk a ship that had the Zion oil and gas rig on it, right? And apparently there was a mass sell-off like on Webull, right? A whole bunch of people were selling. And it got me thinking, because if you're shorting the stock, right, and they're anticipating a large jump because the drill is getting ready to the drill is on its way, right? And so there's a lot of anticipation. It would not surprise me if whoever that person was worked for a hedge fund. Do you get my point? And when you have millions of dollars at stake and you're going to do something to try to keep the stock from going up, right? Because it should have kept going up at that point, but it was at a standstill because of this news, this fake news that came out. But doing an investigation into some of these companies and how they're linked and all that, it's absolutely insane, the amount of layers and the changing of their name. I mean, just by, a few letters. You'll be surprised that as far as the name changes that have gone on with a lot of these hedge funds, right? It's really hard to really track down when just doing some basic general research, finding information on the SEC. You see these hedge fund companies going in and buying, and then you go to look them up on the SEC, and then, you're not getting all the correct information. You're pulling up all their old names that they've transferred out of or whatever, and they didn't change their name, and then you just have to peel back all these layers. And then you have all these layers of of owners and subsidiaries. And basically just all comes down to is, especially dealing with AST, is are they sharing the information? And if they are, that could be a bad thing. And I think that's a question that everybody should be asking. And I wouldn't do it because the fees are astronomical. They can buy and sell whenever they want. Oh, the price is down to 25 cents. Let me go ahead and buy some right now. Let me go, use that company and spend, $1,000. And next thing you know it, you're purchasing those stocks at, 35 cents. When you could have just been able to go on your own trading platform and you control your stocks. You're able to control. You're able to control how you buy and how you sell. And I think that's probably, if there's a lot of people that are doing that, I think that's a big disadvantage to Zion Oil. And I don't know how they would change it or how they were doing it before, but I think there is, in my opinion, I think there could be some conflicts of interest. So in order to win this battle, right, with the price stock the way to where that it's at right now, and we're anticipating some success. And one of the things is that you have to continue to buy and hold. Now, I think for a lot of people, and you probably don't want to hear this, but maybe we do need that price to drop down dramatically so that us as investors, those who are buying and those who are waiting, to drop down dramatically so that we can all pour in and try to buy as many stocks as we can. And one of the things that I did learn concerning like the shorts is GME and AMC, and just watching what people are saying about it. It's not something that happens overnight. It is a cohesive effort by investors being able to go in and buying and holding. And it doesn't take a couple days. It takes weeks. It took a month when they first started this with GameStop before it got to the highest levels that it did. Maybe 3 weeks it took. And they're saying the same thing about AMC, is that it's going to take a time before you can start squeezing those shorts. So, and that's with any stock that we're invested in, just like XLPI, it's very heavily shorted. So we have to be careful in how we invest, because there's a lot of news that's going to be causing the stock to go up and down. That's the whole stock market, and then maybe the individual stocks. But I wanted to put that out there for you guys to start thinking about in your trading strategy with Zion Oil and Gas. Now, they did, in their last update, it says that they reached their first milestone, right? And it says here they're able to drill approximately 3,000 feet. Now, we don't know what the total depth that they're reaching for. If anybody has any clue, please leave a comment down below. They're offering $250 of Zion Oil stock and $25 $1 warrants, and it's available until March 17th. And you guys out there, you tell me what you think about that. So, like I said before in my other videos, this is a 5-month project. And I don't think that it's going to reach the highs that it did back when they were drilling their MJ01. I think because this is, we're repeating history, but history has not repeated itself as far as a reflection in the stock price. And I think that the shorters are going to be taking advantage of any highs and lows, right? So that's the other thing that you got to be concerned about. Just because it goes up to, if it was to shoot up to $5, it's definitely not going to stay there according to history, because they don't have anything solid yet. I think we're just going to be, just in my opinion, which I'm not a financial advisor or any kind of stock expert, but as I continue to learn, I can see as far as over the next few months, the stock remaining under $2, under $1.50, until they start drilling deeper and they get closer to the good news, right? And that's all going to be it. It's all going to depend on the good news, whether or not, if they're able to, in the end of it all, is that well viable. So, folks, it's a crazy world out there with the stock markets and everything. And the more you learn, the more you are better prepared to invest a little bit wiser. So, folks, so from here on out, this is where I'm looking. Like I said, they should be coming out with an update every 2 to 3 weeks. The first update took 3 weeks as opposed to 2 weeks the first time. So the way that I'm looking at it, as they get closer to announcing some type of results, we should see. We'll probably see closer to the end of the 5 months. I would expect to see a lot more activity as far as the price, but that just remains to be seen. One of the other things too, if you're worried about the price dropping, because it's very possible, folks, that this particular stock could drop down way further than the 70 cents. I mean, we could be looking at possibly 50 cents, 40 cents, just my opinion, but there is a possibility that could happen. Now, if you are in, you see the price now at like 70 cents, and you wanna put in your like a stop loss order, like to where if it goes below 60 cents, you're gonna sell, because then if it drops down to like 40 cents, well, you can turn back around and buy back in, even though that you've lost money, because maybe you bought in at 80 cents and you sell at 60 cents, and then you turn around and then you buy back at, say, 50 cents or 45 cents. So those are just some things to think about as you're trading this particular stock. So just remain steadfast. Eventually, this thing with design oil will come, and it's all going to be about timing and strategy and effort among the design oil community. So anyways, folks, thank you for listening. God bless, and have a great day.